As Captain Dylan Hubbard here at Hubbard's Marina, and it's time for another live stream show. Hopefully you're ready for another great episode of our Sunday night live stream show, Off the Hook with Captain Hubbard. Hopefully you guys are excited. I know I am. We got a lot to talk about tonight. No guest in studio tonight. You're stuck with me. That means we've got lots of time to answer your questions and also cover a lot of information because we've got a lot to talk about. Weather's heating up and seasons are changing. We're on the precipice of my favorite time of year, and that's the transition period. Spring and fall, when things start changing, fish start chewing, we get a little bit of a mixing period. It's an exciting time to be out there on the water. So we're going to talk about a lot of different topics tonight and kind of set it up a little different. Got an agenda to actually rip through, so it's not quite so loose and kind of fly by the seat of my pants. So hopefully you enjoy the layout of tonight's show. We're going to try to have some more guests, try to add a little bit more structure, and continue trying to make this show better and better. So we appreciate you tuning in and telling your friends. Make sure you comment, let us know where you're watching from. Please help us to spread the word by liking and comment. If you're watching on Facebook, if you're watching on TikTok, if you're watching on Instagram, if you're watching on Trovo, on Twitch, it doesn't matter. Please like and comment. That helps us to reach more people. If you can share it, that's even better. And make sure you tell your friends about our live stream show. We're trying to grow it and trying to maximize our efforts here. So we appreciate everyone's help and support in that endeavor. Also, I want to give a shout out to our friends over there at Gator Jim's Tackle. If you haven't stopped by Gator Jim's Tackle, make sure you do so. Killer deals over there at Gator Jim's Tackle. Incredible selection. Absolutely mind-boggling pricing. So stop by our friends over at Gator Jim's Tackle. If you bring a young angler with you and tell them Hubbard's Marina sent you, they got free gifts for the young angler in your life. So bring your kids, stop by Gator Jim's, and the kids will get a free gift if you stop by and tell them Hubbard's Marina sent you. And either way, tell them Hubbard's Marina sent you, and check out all their killer deals and incredible selection. Good people over there at Gator Jim's. Also, want to make sure we give a shout out to those sending stars. We have had a lot of star senders already tonight. We've got Jim Evans. We had Stephen Batchelor, LaShonda Brown with the big 500 stars, Larry White with 500 stars, Jasmine Marie, thank you very much, Todd Stutzman, Keith White, Jasmine Marie again, Richard Blazak, and then James McCullum with 500, Lance Hall with 530, appreciate you, Suzanne Gwynnin, Ryan Kelly, Don Shuett, Shelly Ross, what's going on, from Mike's Weather page, John Bull. Appreciate all those of you sending stars. Thank you very much for tuning in and hanging out. Hopefully everybody, like I said, is ready for a great show, and we appreciate you all helping us to fuel and support the show by sending those stars. Also want to give a shout out to our supporters out there, everyone in our supporters group. Remember, if you're a part of that private supporters group, you get access to our behind the scenes post-show, our after show there in the private supporters group. So remember, if you're a part of the supporters group, you not only get access to that private after show, but you get more one-on-one communication through the week, some more behind-the-scenes information in that private group as well. So check it out. It's only $4.99 a month, and it really helps us to do more cool stuff with this live stream show. Now, who wants to win, or who wants a chance to win over $1,500 in free stuff? That's right. Every Sunday night right here during our live show, we give away over $1,500 in free stuff. So if you want a chance to win free stuff, all you have to do is comment at least one time on the Hubbard's Marina Facebook stream. Someone asked me this week, sent me an email, if I comment more than once, does that enter you for more chances to win? No, it does not. One comment is all you need. It's a random name picker, and it actually deletes duplicative comments out of the running. So if you comment 100 times or you comment one time, you have the same chance for winning. Now, more comments, more likes, and more shares helps us to reach more people. So I don't want to incentivize you not to comment more than once. So feel free to comment a lot. We appreciate it. But yes, to answer the question, you only need to comment one time on the Hubbard's Marina Facebook stream. Now, you can watch on YouTube. You can watch on Trovo, you can watch on TikTok, you can watch on Instagram. Wherever you want to watch the show is fine, but in order to have a chance to win, you have to comment once on the Hubbard's Marina Facebook stream. That's how you get a chance to win. Also, make sure you are ready with some questions. If you do have a question, you can text us your question at the phone number on the screen. So make sure you text us on the screen there at that phone number your question that you want answered live during the show. We got some topics to cover, then we're going to get into questions. So if you do have a question you want answered live, if you put it in the comments, it goes too fast. We can't see it, so you got to make sure you text it to that phone number on the bottom of the screen. So with that, let's get into the photos and show you guys what we've been catching. We're going to start inshore, then we're going to work our way near shore and offshore, and then we're going to get into the weather. So let's start inshore and see what we've been catching inshore, and then we'll work our way a little deeper. So inshore right now, mangrove snapper are fired up around virtually any dock, pier, structure, rock pile. Tons of mangrove snapper. We're seeing the pompano out on the jetty and around the beaches, even up in the bay. Really up in the bay is even better. Around some of the bridges, around some of the edges of the grass flats, we're seeing a lot of pompano. Jack Crevalle are around pretty heavily too. Redfish action's been going pretty well in the back protected bay waters. It has been hot, so redfish are kind of sporadic, real slow biting. Cut pinfish has definitely been the way to go around those mangroves. Cut deadbait, maybe some live shrimp. Definitely been a little bit more tricky, but once you find them, the deadbait's working well. This one, John Sasser got right on the boardwalk at John's Pass with a live shrimp. So live shrimp working pretty well around the docks where we've got some of those redfish mixed in with the snook in the early morning around John's Pass. A lot of snook around the passes right now. A few of them out on the beaches during the day. We're seeing some nice snook hooked around the docks as well. Big snook from the back protected bay waters from our friends over at Salt Strong. Some really good action. You just got to work for them a little bit, get them at the right time. That specific tide is really where you want to go. But some good action around the docks and around the jetty and around the beaches during the day. But really the best action is early morning around dock lights and bridge lights, really the best bet. A lot of trout in the back protected bay waters. If you can find those deeper flats, 5, 6, 7, 8 foot of water if you're fishing from shore. Hitting the bridge, the Johns Pass Bridge at night, is a real good option, especially that north side under that north span. We've been seeing a lot of trout on the lights. And that's about it inshore. We are seeing some sharks around, some late season tarpon too. But good time to get out there inshore and take advantage of the good inshore bite. Now, we're going to work our way a little deeper, show you what we're catching near shore and off. Near shore and off right now, we're seeing some nice big old mangrove snapper. The mangrove snapper bite's going extremely well. We're seeing big mangroves on that 12-hour night trip and, of course, our 39-hour trip too. We still got 4 more days to get those red snappers. So our last 39-hour trip is Tuesday for the red snapper. We've got 12-hour extreme trips Wednesday and Thursday. Hopefully this weather will allow us to get out there and capitalize and take advantage of those last couple red snapper days. Here's a big old black grouper from a recent 39-hour trip. Absolutely beautiful black grouper and big hogfish. The bite's been going real well for us. Our last Tuesday 39-hour trip with Capt Garrett crushed them. We're seeing some big amberjack too. We got 4 more days for those amberjack. The Flying Hub 2 are getting some nice ones. The Florida fisherman is getting some big ones on the 39-hour trip. It's really a good opportunity to go out deep. Plus, we've got gag grouper season opening up September 1st. So lots of good fishing to be done. And even as red snapper come to a close, even as jacks come to a close, we're going to have scamp grouper, we're going to have triggerfish, we're going to have gags opening soon. So lots of fish to go out there and catch and super light loads. So we got some more of that fishing stuff to talk about here soon, but we do have to get into the weather and talk to you guys a little bit about what's going on weather-wise. And we got a lot to talk about weather-wise. It's been busy. The tropics finally realized that it's hurricane season. So let's talk a little bit about weather. If you go to hubbardsmarina.com, click fishing trips, scroll on down to the weather links page. That's going to bring you to our weather links page with all our marine weather links and much, much more. We're going to start on the wind finder forecast area. Let's start in the 5 and 10 hour forecast area and just take a peek. Now, this forecast, I talked about this a little bit in this morning's video. If you caught this morning's video, you kind of caught the explanation here. But this forecast is based off the GFS model, which is the American model for tropical weather systems and really all weather modeling. So this is based off the GFS forecast. So this little puff of wind here, kind of Wednesday night, Thursday, and Friday morning, it was not showing this Saturday morning when we did our radio show. It was showing beautiful weather Wednesday and beyond. This little piece is kind of a potential little tropical trough we're going to show you here in a minute. But basically what this is showing us at a glance is tomorrow's going to be breezy and bumpy, really, really bumpy, really kind of actually rough tomorrow. And Tuesday it's going to be calming down. Not too bad Tuesday, looking actually pretty good. We'll probably be able to get out there and do pretty well. Today, the half day crushed it. Before that weather picked up, before the seas picked up, the fish were chewing today. So I'm hopeful Tuesday behind this weather, they'll be chewing again. This isn't a high pressure. This is a little trough moving through, so it should get them excited. And we're right on a first quarter moon there Tuesday, Wednesday as well. So I think Tuesday's fishing should be pretty good. And even Wednesday should be pretty good. If the forecast stays the same and we're expecting bad weather Thursday, Tuesday, Wednesday are going to be your best fishing days, with Wednesday probably being the best day right ahead of that weather puffing up. So looks like kind of mid-work week is your best chance to make it out there, or if you wait till weekend, later weekend coming up, if this weather forecast doesn't change. But let's go back to the forecast area and go a little deeper offshore and look at the offshore report. So again, Tuesday, Wednesday is really looking the best wind-wise, but offshore, it looks like it's going to stay pretty bumpy Tuesday, still over 4 foot Tuesday morning, and calming down to 3 foot Wednesday, so we might be able to squeak out there Wednesday on the Flying Hub 2, but it's going to be a little bit tough. Hopefully that weather dies down a little bit, but we should be able to squeak out there Wednesday on the Flying Hub 2. The 39-hour trip looks great. 3.5 foot is nice. This moderate wind is actually kind of nice. It gives us a little bit of reprieve from the heat. A lot of overcast conditions, so it won't be as hot. We'll have a nice anchor heading. 3 foot is not bad at all on the Florida fishermen. So Tuesday's 39-hour trip looks like you're going to have killer weather. And if the weather doesn't change and it still is going to be kind of nasty tomorrow and then kind of nasty Thursday, that Tuesday 39-hour trip should have killer fishing. Should be absolutely incredible because it's not going to be as hot. We're going to have a good solid anchor heading, and the fish are going to be foaming. Super excited because they're going to have that basically bad tropical system moving past, or kind of weak tropical system moving past, and then another one bearing down on the area. So that's going to get them super excited. So the fish should be just absolutely chewing the bottom out of the boat there, probably Wednesday offshore, Wednesday morning. So that 39-hour trip Tuesday is looking good, real good, based on the weather forecast we just looked at. Now, we're going to hop over back to the Hubbard's Marina website page, the weather links page. We're going to do a deeper dive into the tropical weather. So right on our website, again, fishing trips, weather links, that brings you to the weather links page. Right here, top right, the ultimate storm forecast link that we have here is Mike's weather page, spaghettimodels.com. And right on the top left side, I like these little links that I'm pointing to over here. If you can see my mouse moving, that's up left-hand corner. You'll see GFS, Euro, CMC, Icon. GFS is that American model. Euro is the European model. CMC is Canada. I honestly don't know what Icon is. I don't know who makes Icon, but it is what it is. Random thought during the live show. So first things first, let's look at the GFS model. This one is the one that's showing us that kind of Thursday blip, that rougher weather Thursday. So here's Monday, And here's the storms that just got named. I think this one's Emily, ironically, my wife's name. And this one's like Fernando. This one's Invest 91, I want to say. It's just going to go over in Texas and bring our friends over in Galveston, Houston, some rain. No big deal. These are kind of chilling down here. This is the one we got to watch out for, kind of backside of, I believe this is Fernando, backside here. It starts to slide up and gets pulled into that area of low pressure. And as these bigger storms get out of the area and cruise, it creates an area of weakness behind those storms and kind of allows this one to creep in to Florida, Johns Pass. You can see it bouncing around right there. Let's zoom in a little bit, get a little closer. This is the one we got to watch. And I really don't think it's going to be anything like, oh my goodness, we're going to have a tropical storm or a hurricane or anything like that. But I think it's going to be enough to bring us some disturbed weather. So this is Monday, tomorrow. Now we're getting into Tuesday. Now we're getting into Thursday. Here's that bigger storm. So this is Thursday, Friday. So this is when we start to see all that wind, Thursday and Friday. The Gulf starts to get upset. Saturday. So there's a big, that's all the way into next week. So we shouldn't look very much further because it gets really unpredictable and kind of untrustworthy past about 7 days. But you can see it's just an angry Gulf. And let's back up here. So this rough weather was the 24th. So let's go back to the 24th. So it's really not showing much here. This is the 24th, and I'm not seeing much on the GFS model to cause super rough weather, except for you can see down here in the corner is that big storm. So that must be what's causing that rougher wind, higher wind. As that storm passes, some of that upper atmosphere will be moving so fast it'll get us a little windy, but it doesn't really make sense that it would get so strong, 20 to 25, so far away from that storm. So I don't know. I think this work week coming up, we could have nicer weather than what they're calling for on Windfinder right now. And like I said, Saturday morning it wasn't showing this. Saturday morning it was showing a beautiful week of weather. And we're going to switch now to the Euro model and look at Wednesday and into Thursday. So even the European model is not really showing too much in the area this work week. So I don't know. It might be a higher chance of rain, but we could potentially see a nice work week. But like I said, if it's not, and it stays exactly how it's forecasted now, 39-hour trip should be stellar Tuesday. Wednesday's 12-hour stream. We should be able to squeak out there. It's going to be a bumpier trip, but fish should be chewing. If the weather gets nicer, it's still going to be pretty good fishing behind the little storm that just went by, and it's going to be nicer weather too. So either way, going to be a good opportunity for our last chance at red snapper season. Let's go ahead and give away our first free trip of the night. Who wants to win a free trip? Who likes free stuff? Everybody likes free stuff, right? So let's find out who won our first free trip of the night. We got a 5-hour half day to give away for 2 guests. We've got a 10-hour all day to give away for 2 guests. We've got our Hubbard's Marina swag pack to give away and a 39-hour trip as well for 1 lucky winner. So we're going to give away, to start, let's give away our 10-hour all-day trip for 2 guests. 10-hour all-day trip for 2 guests. Let's see who the lucky winner is. Ryan Held from Tampa. Congratulations, Ryan, on that big lucky win there, buddy. That's awesome. 10-hour all-day trip for 2 guests. Congratulations. You got 5 minutes or less to claim it by texting the phone number on the screen. So let's see here. What are we going to talk about next? We talked about the tropical update. Next thing we want to talk about is the fishing season transitions. So we're on the backside of our red snapper season. Like I said, August 24th, end of day, basically August 25th, 12:01 a.m. Red snapper's over for us at Hubbard's Marina. Federal for hire season is over. August 25th at 12:01 a.m. There was a big announcement about red snapper season being extended by Governor Ron DeSantis. That was for private recreational anglers. So people on private boats, their own private boats, no money exchanged in hand. It's just their own private boat or their buddy's private boat. Those people, those folks on private recreational vessels with private recreational licenses can go out and harvest red snapper weekends in September, October, and November. Those weekend days, those weekend red snapper days are only for private recreational anglers, not for us, not for federally permitted for-hire folks like Hubbard's Marina. So our season ends August 24th, end of day, or August 25th at 12:01 a.m. Also, amberjack season closes that same time. But we've got scamp grouper open. We've got mangrove snapper. We've got vermilion snapper. We've got yellowtail snapper. We're seeing muttons. We're getting big porgies. We're getting almacos. We're getting a variety of other species. Plus, September 1st, we have gag grouper opening back up. September 1st all the way through November 10th. So a majority of the end of the year, we've got gag grouper to catch, plus tons of other fish to get out and go after too. So don't fret, we got plenty of fish to go out and catch. Plus, we're on the precipice of my favorite time of year. Like I mentioned earlier, it is August 20th, folks. It is August 20th. So we are 6 weeks away from potentially our first couple cold fronts of the year. I mean, October, generally the second week of October-ish, mid-October-ish, late October for sure, we start getting those cold fronts. And then the hogfish start to really get concentrated and really get aggressive. So we're only 5-6 weeks away from hogfish season, not really a season because they're open all year, but hogfish targeting time from really picking up. We're catching hogfish now. You have a chance for hogfish now, but you're going to have a much better chance for hogfish once those cold fronts get rolling. So we've got gag grouper opening up. We've got hogfish coming. We got cool fronts. That sounds nice, don't it? Cool fronts starting up soon. So you never know. We could see some really good fishing start when those cold fronts start rolling in, and we generally see some good action, some good opportunities for lots of good fishing during those transition periods, because we see those summertime patterns continue and we see some of those wintertime patterns start, and those fish start to kind of overlap, and it really gets exciting. So we're not far away from that time of year, so I'm excited. It's a good time of year to get out there. Plus, kids are back to school now, so the number of folks on the boat is super low. So we've got lighter loads. We've got plenty of room around the boats. Our 10-hour all days are averaging 20, 25, 30 people on them. So super light loads on the 10-hour trips. Some super light loads on 39-hour trips coming up. We've got great opportunities on our 12-hour extreme trips. So great options for good fishing. And it's already cooled down quite a bit because of all the overcast conditions we've had and the rain we've had. So the fish are getting a little bit of reprieve, and so are we from that temperature. And it seems like this week, with the higher rain chances plus the little bit breeze condition, more breezy condition, and more clouds in the upper atmosphere, we should have probably a more moderate temperature this week too. So good opportunities. All that adds up to good opportunities to get out there on the water. So hopefully we'll see you soon, and you'll get a chance to take advantage of that. Also, besides all that, we've got great events coming up this week. We've got Final Friday, 8/25. That's August 25th, this coming Friday. We've got Final Friday, and we hope to see you guys out there for our crawfish boil. The crawfish boil is going to be from 6 to 9 p.m. We're going to have music. Josh is going to be there. You'll be able to see Josh and all our crew and captains, so definitely a good time. Hopefully we'll see you this Friday for Final Friday. Plus, if you want to see me in person, I will be at Bass Pro Shops in Tampa this coming Sunday, a week from today, August 27th at 2 p.m. We're going to be at Bass Pro Shops for our fishing conversation. We're going to be giving away free trips, and it's going to be a good time. So hopefully we'll see you a week from today at Bass Pro Shops at 2 p.m. for our fishing seminar, And then hopefully we'll see you Friday night, this coming Friday night, for our crawfish boil. We've got free beer, free food, and a good time. So hopefully we'll see you Friday night for the final Friday party and Sunday for our Bass Pro Shops event as well. Now, it's time to talk to you guys a little bit about the Gulf Council updates. But I don't want to launch into that too quickly because we've got Capt. Mike Anderson, who's going to be calling us and giving us an inshore report as well. So let's get into the questions real quick and pick a question or two. And then we'll hear from Mike, and then we'll do the Gulf Council update. Plus, remind me, I've got a cool story to tell you. Something cool, crazy happened on a 39-hour trip recently. With the rougher weather approaching Johns Pass this week, is Final Friday still on? Yes, we are planning on having Final Friday. If it does look like it's going to be really nasty, then potentially that might change, but I doubt it. We generally have a backup plan. If it is going to rain, the live music moves into caddies, and the party still happens. We just kind of step away from the edge a little bit, and we still do our crawfish boil. Last Final Friday, it rained for like 20 minutes right around 6 o'clock. And it didn't slow us down at all. We still had a great time, and it was good. It was good fun. So don't be scared of a little bit of weather. Final Friday will still happen. Now, if we have a tropical storm coming at us, that might be different, but that's not the case. We just looked at the weather, and we all looked at it together. It looks like we're going to have Final Friday and have a great time. So we'll see you Friday at 6 o'clock. How's the 100-foot or last bite right now? Not quite sure what that means, but around 100 foot, we're doing pretty well. Our 10-hour all day is catching some nice big lane snapper. We're seeing some nice mangrove snapper. We've been catching some pretty big vermilions. You got a good shot at some almacos, and we're seeing a lot of other heads and tails, maybe a hogfish or two. So we're fishing pretty darn close to 100 foot on our 10-hour all day, and doing pretty well. As that water continues, or as that water cools, not continues to cool because it hasn't started really cooling yet, but once it does start cooling, we'll get a little shallower and start targeting those hogfish more on those 10-hour all day trips. But definitely coming soon there. When does the hogfish bite really turn on? Generally, kind of rule of thumb is October through around April, May, cooler months. Once the cold fronts start rolling, it gets them concentrated. Something about the murkier water, cooler temperatures, they get more concentrated, more aggressive, and easier to target with hook and line. Right now, you can catch them. You can catch hogfish all year, but during the warmer weather months, especially when the water's clear, it gets really difficult to target them with success via hook and line. So once it starts cooling down, that water gets a little bit murky, we really start to see the hogfish bite pick up exponentially. After the beautiful experience I had on my last fishing trips, my friends want to go fishing on the 25th, this coming Friday, but we want to know the weather conditions for that night. Unfortunately, we just don't know the weather conditions 5-6 days in advance. Right now, Friday night looks great. We just looked at the weather together, and we have the weather links right on our website, so you can check them too. But right now, Friday night looks good, but there's no guarantee in weather. I mean, we guarantee an excellent client experience with superior guest service, but we can't control the weather, and we can't make fish bite. Those are the two things that are outside of our control, but we guarantee an excellent client experience with superior guest service in all things that we can control, like our guest service, our guest experience, the boat, the captains, the crew, the staff, the office. We work really hard to make sure that we stand behind and really follow through on that guarantee of an excellent client experience with superior guest service. But if the weather gets funky on us, or if the fish decide to be funky and not chew, those are two things we can't really control, but we're going to work our tails off and make sure that we do the best we can to produce the best quality bite for sure. Let's see here. What's the best bait for hogfish? Live shrimp would be your best bet for hogfish. We do have right on our website page, if you go to hubbardsmarina.com, we're going to pop over there now. If you go to Oh, I hit the right button. If you go to hubbardsmarina.com, click Fishing Trips, and then scroll down to Fishing Video Links, you can see our fishing tips and tricks page. There is a ton of videos here on fishing tips and tricks, and we have one specifically to how to catch hogfish and what rig to use. This one, Captain Frank spends 15 minutes going into different things about hogfish. I thought I must not be. Oh, I didn't scroll down enough. There's rigging tips. We also have general tips in here. We've got even some inshore tips and some cleaning tips as well. So the fishing tips page on our website has lots of super helpful how-to videos. But that very first one, nearshore and offshore tips, has the how to catch a hogfish and what rig to use. So that's a great video to check out. And it really goes deep in depth on how to catch hogfish, what's the best bait, what's the best rigs, and it's a good time. So check that video out after the live show. Now, let's hear from our good friend, Capt Mike, and talk to him a little bit about what's biting inshore, man. What's going on, Capt Mike?
How are you, my brother?
I am doing well, my friend. Just another day in paradise. How about you?
No doubt. I'm good. I'm really happy to see all this rain.
Yeah. Well, that makes one of us, bud.
Yeah, well, I mean,
it is a little cooler.
Yeah, we need. Well, this is what we need to get that water temp back in check.
Yeah, it can rain.
93.6. Yeah, well, I'm with you, but 93.6 in the backcountry is not good.
No, yeah.
So we needed this to cool things down a little bit, get that salinity right. And I think it's gonna push us towards a really good end of August and a good September.
The catch-22 that concerns me, right, is water temperatures are really hot, have been really hot, and now we're just sloughing off the surface of whatever's been sitting out there on the pavement and in the gutters into the bay, right? Our first couple rains have really, really high potentials for higher nutrient runoffs. And that's a big concern that I have, and just keeping my fingers crossed and trying to stay positive. But that's a big concern I have whenever we get these first couple rains of summer. It's always kind of scary to see what happens. And it seems like this is kind of our first rainy week that we've had. So just keeping my fingers crossed and trying to stay positive that we won't see anything kind of come of that. But it's crazy. Have you been seeing all the stuff about the flesh-eating bacteria in New York and stuff like that down the coast?
I have not.
Yeah, there was some cases in like New York, New Jersey, up and down the eastern seaboard. So crazy stuff. We don't need any of that down here either. So it is nice to see the water temperatures coming down.
Yeah, it's a bonus, and I'm going to choose not to be negative. Although I note of taking note of your concern, and understand them. I'm just going to try to be positive, because otherwise it eats me alive. You know, with it being what we're both so passionate about, and then obviously, you know, how we both make a living.
Yeah.
I'm going to just choose to be positive and hope we, you know, with all the west wind we've had this year, you know, things could obviously go south, and we, you know, with the rain finally getting here, and I'm just gonna hope and pray to the good Lord above that we don't have any issues, and we keep, you know, late August and September and early October are spectacular, like they can be if you know, everything comes together and things get right.
Yes, sir. Yeah, it should be. I mean, end of August, early September, we see the redfish start schooling up, right?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, they're already here. But we've already got reports of big schools of redfish pouring in. So that's really a positive. I'll tell you what else has been really interesting, and we always have them this time of year, but totally blown away by the numbers this year, is the tarpon. The tarpon bite has been absolutely insane for, you know, the middle of August. I had one guy, Captain Julio Lima, who's a phenomenal tarpon fisherman, tell me that's the most tarpon he's ever seen at the Skyway Bridge.
Yeah, I heard they're catching them still like 2s, 3s, 4s a day out there on the Skyway during tarpon trips.
So I'll tell you this, Julio told me that he put his people set up at the bridge at 8 o'clock in the morning. At 10:30 on a 4-hour trip, his people were tapping out.
Wow.
They were done. He's like, bro, they didn't want to pull on another one. He said every other bait we sent back got whacked. He said
crazy.
he said everywhere you looked, you could look in any direction and there was tarpon rolling.
Wow.
He said he's never seen that many, and he's a retired St. Pete police officer who's lived here a really long time, who's a great fisherman, a really good tarpon fisherman. And that's when he told me that, I was like, wow, that is a lot of fish. And I knew it was going off, but I didn't realize there was quite that many fish there.
We're seeing them a lot in John's Pass too. Just walking out on the dock to load boats or unload boats. It's crazy the number of tarpon I've seen just cruising underneath the dock.
Here's what I think is happening, and I could be wrong, but you know, my little pea brain, my little redneck fisherman brain, trying to figure it all out. And what I think has happened is because the water temp was so high, the bait wasn't up on the flats.
Yeah.
Only the fry bait. There wasn't good bait up on the flats. That bait has stacked up at the Skyway Bridge and in some of the deeper places like John's Pass, where that water's a little bit deeper and they can get in that thermocline where it's a little bit cooler. Again, just a couple of degrees of temperature change, just like in your house. You know, you're a little warm at 75 and you drop it back to 73, you notice right away that it's a lot cooler. Same thing happens for the fish. If they can drop off from, 5 foot of water or 4 foot of water and drop off to 10 foot of water, you're going to get that climate change and it's going to be a lot more comfortable. And I believe that there's more bait at the Skyway, at least there has been. There's been more bait at the Skyway hugging the bottom than I can ever remember in August. White bait, pilchards. And I believe that has to do with that water temp. When that bait is normally scattered all over the flats this time of year,
that's true.
It's pushed deep because that water temp is so high. And what that did was it took all those tarpon and pushed them right to the bridge because there's so much bait there. They're like, hey, I mean, why would we leave? There's cheeseburgers everywhere.
So
do you think that's my guess.
It hasn't accreted tarpon. There's not more tarpon here. It's just concentrated them around the
I
bridge.
do. I think it's just I think it's just a concentration, and that's one of the things about when you're talking about tarpon in Tampa Bay. If you fished in Boca, ever fished in Boca Grande, Boca Grande is considered one of the tarpon fishing capitals of the entire world.
Yeah.
But I believe, and I always have thought this after, just a couple of years of doing it, I believe there's more fish in Tampa Bay than there is in Boca Grande.
I would say so.
I believe the difference is that the fish are more concentrated in Boca Grande Pass than they are here at Tampa Bay. They've been catching them up off of St. Pete. They've been catching them over by Port Manatee. They've been catching them on the beach. They've been catching them still at Egmont. Now there's a stack of them at the Skyway Bridge. They've been catching them at the Gandy. I mean, we have so much more structure with our bridges. We have so much more area for those fish to be in. We just have more fish. I guarantee you, if you go to, and I haven't been there, but I used to do it all the time in August. If you go to downtown Tampa right now, the Palm River, the Hillsborough River, and you get there right when they start rolling, it'll blow your mind how many tarpon get in up that river. Yeah, you bet. So, we just got a pile of them, and for whatever reason, again, I think it has to do with that bait being at the bridge. Those fish just congregated there for the easy meal.
Yeah, I believe it, and I would agree with your sentiment as well. If you were to be heading out, if you had access to putting yourself into a less experienced angler's mindset, you have access to a boat or your buddy's boat, and you're going out there to target a tarpon. You hear about all these tarpon at the Skyway. What would you do? You go out and anchor up on an outgoing tide. You'd be up tide of the bridge. You'd be on the north side of the bridge.
You want to fish up tide. You always want to fish up tide. Those fish are always going to have their nose pointed into the tide.
Okay.
I'd get I'd get a bucket or two, a 5-gallon bucket or two of threadfin herring.
Yep.
And I would cut them. I would just sit there and cut baits. It's a very boring thing to do. You can almost cut them in thirds depending on how big you get.
Okay.
And then what you do is you send one back, what I call it, you send one back loaded with a Trocar 7/0, hook in it. And just, feed it back almost the same way you do for yellowfin, where you're just feeding that line. So you're cutting baits, you're chumming. Those fish will line up right behind your boat. They're like dogs. They just roll in. They're like, hey, here comes a steady meal. They're just sitting back there picking off pieces of floaters. You open your bail, you start feeding a piece back just as smooth as you can. Once that line jumps off there, you close the bail. Tell the captain to, hey, giddy up. We're hooked up. Let's rock and roll. I mean, that's probably the best way to do it.
Okay.
There's still some crabs flushing around the moons, so I guarantee you that even some little crabs are drawing a bite somewhere. The permit bite's been excellent anyway, so if you dip crabs and couldn't get the tarpon to eat a crab, you can definitely get the permit to chew a crab right now, especially on the moons. So, but yeah, for me, that's the way I would do it. If I was on the beach fishing, I wouldn't go cut. I know some of the guys, there's been a ton of shad in the bay, and some guys are using dead shad to catch those fish. From what I hear, it's about a 3-day grace period from when you catch the shad to when they're not really any good anymore. You probably got to ice them down, keep them on ice, and then just, lock them to the bottom with a big heavy weight and just let those tarpon come and eat them. They're a big scavenger fish, cut catfish and ladyfish and, cut mullet. All those baits work really, really good for tarpon.
Yeah.
And I know a lot of guys are doing really, really well on shad right now as well.
Yeah, that's what Captain Travis Thompson said during the radio show this past Saturday was a late season tarpon bait that he loves is a catfish with the fins cut off. And that works really well for him, he said.
Yeah, we got a couple guys that are. I have not. I've got a couple guys in the marina that, I go out to catch bait, and they're sitting in the marina catching catfish to use as bait for their tarpon trips. I don't even like to cut bait like I was telling people, just now to do.
Yeah.
It's my least favorite way to catch them by far.
Uh-huh.
It's a lot like painting a wall in your house and then sitting down to watch it dry. I know your ADHD probably flares It's brutal.
up.
Yeah, it's brutal. It just is brutal. The bad part is, the reality is it's effective.
Yeah.
And there's certain days when, especially like right now, when those fish are stacked at the bridge, it's really hard to go away from that tactic. You got a bunch of guys doing it. Mm-hmm. The fish are kind of in tune to it. They're almost sitting there waiting to be fed.
Yeah.
If I really, really had a customer tomorrow that was like, hey, I've never caught a tarpon. All I want to do is catch tarpon. I'd be like, okay, it's going to be boring. We're going to catch you one. It might be a little boring for a while, but they will line up. The stars will align, and you will catch one. But this is the way you got to do it. It's effective. I don't care for it, but it's definitely a way to catch them. Bean Point, the boys in the middle of the season, May and June, there's piles of fish around. They've been catching them like that for years. So
that's awesome.
It's a very effective way to catch them. And then again, the great Larry Mastry from Mastry's Bait and Tackle over there in St. Pete, he caught them on dead shad for years.
Yeah.
He won tournament after tournament after tournament after tournament, fishing dead shad, getting in traffic areas where the fish are working the beach in line, and just putting out 6, 7, 8 shad on the bottom and waiting for them fish to swim by and pick one up. And, he won a lot of tournaments that way. One of the best tarpon tournament fishermen the state of Florida's ever known.
That's awesome.
So that's effective as well, for sure.
Dead baits in the trough on the beach. All right, well, we got a lot to look forward to. Redfish picking up. We still got late season tarpon. A lot of mangrove snapper around too. So lots of good options for you, huh?
Yeah. Snook in transition too. Those snook are going to start to transition to the backcountry.
Yeah.
So don't get discouraged on that bite either. Those fish are going to start to move back out front of the mangroves on areas like the Cockroach Bay Flats, and they're going to start to move now off the beach some. Some fish will stay on the beach a little later. Those that got there a little later will hang out a little longer because, again, there's a lot of fry bait out there, a lot of good things happening, so you can still catch them on the beach. But you'll notice that some of those fish are going to start to transition between now and this next moon phase. Yep. There's going to be a big push of snook moving towards the back. September is one of my favorite months to snook fish because you can catch those fish kind of heading back. As long as you're starting to think, hey, they're transitioning. October and November are coming. They're going to want to be poised to get in the back. So they start to make their way that way, and you can catch a lot of snook this time of year as well. So don't overlook that snook bite.
Like September's full moon kind of marks that exodus, that great exodus from the past. Do you think it's more of a full moon or new moon or just moon phase in general?
I think it's moon phase in general, and I think it has a lot to do with water temp and how much fresh water we get.
Yeah.
So if this rain stays on us, then I think that's one of the things that anglers don't pay enough attention to.
Yeah.
The amount of fresh water we get is really, really a big deal. It's a huge deal. We didn't start to get these redfish schools until it started to rain a little.
Yeah.
They were a little later this year than they were last year. Last year, by the end of July, we had some schools already.
I remember that. They were early.
Yeah, they were early, but we had rain. This year, that rain held off some, and it's been a little bit later here. So, as soon as that rain started, boy, those redfish poured in from offshore just like that. One of the coolest things I've ever got from Captain Scott Moore, the legend, one of the best to ever do it, was redfish always put their nose into that fresh water. That's true. They go to it. They roll into the bay. They hit Port Manatee. They hit Fort DeSoto. They hit Weeden Island, but they're working their way towards the top of the bay.
Okay.
It's just what they do. And as soon as he said it, it was like a light went off in my head. Like, man, I'm not very bright because I couldn't figure that out on my own. Good thing I have friends. And I think that has a lot to. I think that rattles true with a lot of fish. I think even the snook, even though they're not the same as redfish. Obviously, we all know they're different, and how they act is different, how they move around is different. But I think a lot of that has to do with that. We start to get the rains. That starts to move some of those fish off the beach, and they start to push back towards the backcountry. So it won't be a mass exodus. I think you're right. I think that mass exodus happens more towards September, but we have so many fish on the beach right now that even if some of them leave early, you can still get a good bite out where other people aren't fishing yet because they're not thinking that way.
Yep, get out and get ahead of them as they start to transition. That's a good idea. Take advantage of it, right?
Yeah, that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to be fishing some of my transitional spots here this week because I know some of those snook will already be there.
Get out and get ahead of them. Well, we appreciate it, Captain Mike, and looking forward to talking to you Saturday for another radio show.
Can't wait, brother. Looking forward to it. I appreciate you covering this weekend. It was good to get away, relax a little bit, and I look forward to getting back after it this week. I got to go to Homestead, pick up a new boat. I got some charters this week, so we'll have lots of cool stuff to talk about on Saturday.
Brand new contender. All right, cool, man. Well, I'll see you Saturday.
All right, my brother. Have a great show.
All right, man. Thanks. See you, Mike.
See you, buddy.
That's awesome. New contender. Fresh new 25 bay coming. That'll be cool. All right, so it's time to find out who won our next free trip. We give away our 10-hour all-day for two. Let's give away our 5-hour half-day for two guests. 5-hour half-day for two guests. Lucky winner is Matt Corpenning from, just says he misses Florida. Well, now you don't have to miss Florida, Matt. You've got an excuse to come back and visit Florida and go fishing on a 5-hour half-day for two guests. Want to give a shout-out to some star senders who were sending stars while we were going through the phone call and looking at the weather. We had Craig Robinson. We had Phil Battisto. We had Calvin Brisker. What's up, buddy? Jason Richmond. We had Richard Bedwell with the big 500 stars. And then Eric Seberg with the big 1,000 stars. Appreciate you guys and all of your support. I know I saw at least one person saying that the show was cutting in and out for them. On our end, everything is looking really good. We've got strong internet connectivity, so I don't think your internet issues are on our side. You might want to just switch internets or maybe try to go to cell phone data or something, because on our side, it looks like everything's going really well. So hopefully that continues tonight. Now, we talked a little bit about what we're catching. We showed you guys the weather. We got our inshore report from Mike. Our next thing on our agenda here is to talk about the Gulf of Mexico Fishery Management Council meeting that just happened in Austin, Texas. Just got back from Austin, Texas on Thursday night, super late. And it was definitely a little bit of an interesting meeting. It has definitely been a lot of conversation around gag grouper. They're trying to figure out kind of where they want to fall on gag grouper management measures. But we are trying our best to avoid any vessel limits. There's consideration over vessel limits and bag limits. They voted to remove the idea of potentially doing a bag limit change, but then they put it back in. So it's early on, but there's discussions over spatial area closures, which means closing certain areas to protect gag grouper spawning aggregations, but they're not sure where those areas are. And then there's discussions over potentially vessel limits, like only 1, 2, 3, 4 per boat. But we're going to fight really hard against that because that doesn't make any sense on a party boat. Bag limit changes, potentially going to 1 fish per person instead of 2 fish, but that doesn't help because a 50% reduction in bag limit doesn't get you a 50% longer season. It doesn't translate because of discard mortality and also because most people don't land more than 1 fish. A 50% reduction in bag limit might only get you a 10% longer season or no percent longer season. So why give up 50% of your bag limit if you're not going to gain any length or any access in the fishery, right? So that's what we're looking at and fighting as far as gag grouper are concerned. As far as amberjack are concerned, they have a conversation starting about what we want the season to be for next year. It seems like they are settling on having amberjack season open September and October next year. So that means amberjack season would coincide with gag grouper. So in 2024, gag grouper and amberjack would open September 1st. And we'd have amberjack through the end of October. We'd have gags through November 10th, potentially for next year, or potentially a little bit longer, hopefully. But that's what we're seeing as far as gags and amberjack. For yellowtail snapper, they're working through potentially doing some changes with the management of yellowtail snapper between the Gulf and South Atlantic councils. But as far as the Gulf Council goes, we are seeing no real management changes with yellowtail snapper. And the big thing that I was talking about at the Gulf Council meeting is that we're seeing more yellowtail snapper, so we need more quota. We need that catch limit to remain super high because we don't want to bump up against it. We don't want to catch too many yellowtail snapper and have them close a fishery on us because it's a healthy fishery. We're seeing more of them. So that's what I was there talking a lot about as far as yellowtail snappers. Give us more catch level and protect the Gulf's catch level because we're catching them more and more often in the Gulf. And then we talked a lot about data collection and the Sea Fire program, trying to get that stood back up. Hopefully by the start of 2025, we'll be back daily reporting our catch in the federal for-hire fleet. So we're very close to getting a new document started. So that will be exciting to improve our recreational data collection yet again. So let's go ahead and give away our Hubbard's Marina swag pack, and then we're going to start answering some questions. Try to rip through as many questions as we can. So Hubbard's Marina swag pack. Remember, if you're the lucky winner, text us your address and your t-shirt size. Daniel Milan from Atlanta, from Atlanta. Daniel, make sure you text us within 5 minutes your home address and your t-shirt size so we can make sure we get you the proper size to your home address. So shoot us a text. All right, let's see who is got the next question for us. What do we got question-wise? How many days before and after the full moon to catch inshore and offshore fish? I'm looking for hungry fish. So you got to remember the full moon is one variable. So you also have barometric pressure. You have thermocline, you have water temperature, you have sea surface temperature, you have chlorophyll, you have currents, you have overcast conditions. You have a lot of different things that can affect fishing besides the moon. And I see it so often. People get so wrapped around the axle or get so much line caught in their propeller thinking about, well, I can't fish then. The moon's not right. And I got to fish one day before the full moon. And that's when I did really well back in 1989 when I went fishing last, you know. And I don't mean to be facetious, but I do kind of mean to be facetious in the fact that I'm trying to emphasize the moon phase is one variable out of 35 variables that affect whether or not a fish is going to eat. And even if everything is lining up perfectly and it looks like the best day to go fishing ever, sometimes you go out there and they just don't eat. So I recommend and strongly encourage you to just go fishing. When you're not too busy to go fishing and get out there and enjoy it. It's always a good time to be on the water. It's always a good time to catch some fish. And we generally, overall, most of the time, do pretty well. And especially more experienced anglers, it's pretty rare that everybody on the boat has a slower trip. More experienced anglers almost always catch some good fish. And you have a really good chance, even on days where we know it's going to be a little bit tough, you still have a pretty good chance to get out there and catch some fish and have a good time. So I always encourage people to go. And if the fish aren't chewing, the weather's real bad, generally we can't go, right? It's rare that a nice day of weather, you go out there and you just can't catch a fish. Unless it's like been super clear, the water's super, I don't know. There's 100 variables, right? So it's hard to like give you a perfect example of a day that you don't want to go fishing. But I would say get out there and go fishing. As far as to answer the question, on a full moon, what's the best day? A few days before or a few days after? On a full moon, if you ignore all other conditions, generally the nighttime fishing a day or two before, even the daytime fishing 3 or 4 days before, starts to get pretty good. And then right around the full moon, the daytime bite can be a little slow. The nighttime bite persists. But if it's cloudy, it totally ruins that rule of thumb, right? If the water's really murky because it's been raining a lot, that ruins that train of thought as well. So there's a lot of things that go into it, and I would try to avoid getting too wrapped up in it because it's really hard to plan a trip a month in advance and request off of work and pick the best day because something could change and then all of a sudden it's not the best day, right? And then you're never going to go fishing. So I would just pick a day and go fishing and see how it goes and have faith that you're going to have a good time out in the water. How tall are you? And will you fit in the bunk? I'm 6'10", and I'm concerned I won't fit in the bunk on a 39-hour trip. I'm 6'7". I fit in the bunks pretty well, pretty comfortably. So I wouldn't be too concerned. 6'10" is pretty tall, though. You're going to have to watch your head for sure. More concerned about bumping your head than anything. I would fish the bow if I was you. Definitely don't fish the stern if you're 6'10". That's going to be a rough trip for you. I am 6'7", and I hit my head on the stern in some areas. But if I was 6'10", I think I would hit my head a lot more, and I would not want anything to do with the stern. I would go to the bow of the boat, fish like spots 32 to 35 or spot like 36 to 39, and I would personally pick a top bunk, and I would either sleep downstairs or upstairs. You'd fit in the bunk, no problem. Let's see here. What other questions do we have? Can we bring a beanbag chair on the 12-hour extreme trip? You can. I would put one in the truck and then kind of show up and see where we're at people-wise and tackle-wise. This time of year with lighter loads, you can sometimes get away with bringing a beanbag, and it is pretty comfortable. But we only have room for a few of them, right? And it has to be a little bit of a lighter load. So yes and no. Bring it with you and talk to the captain when you show up, and we'll see if we can accommodate it. Did you already send Dan that link? Dan asked about the diet plan. So I don't know if you guys are aware of it, but I've lost a little bit of weight, and some people are asking about kind of what I've been doing to change my lifestyle and get a little healthier. And I've put together a little bit of blog posts with Josh and Jared's help, and they created something really cool on the CaptainDylanHubbard.com website. So if you view CaptainDylanHubbard.com, click blog, you'll be able to see the post that I did maybe 2 weeks ago. And I'm going to be writing some more blog posts this week about specifically diet plans and some supplements and some other stuff that I've been doing that might help you as well. So stay tuned to the Captain Dylan Hubbard Facebook or Instagram page for more fisheries information and some of that fitness and diet plan stuff, because that's where I'm going to be sharing it, not sharing all that stuff on the Hubbard's Marina page. It's all through the Captain Dylan Hubbard page. So if you're interested in that, check out the Captain Dylan Hubbard website, CaptainDylanHubbard.com, or check out my Facebook or my Instagram page. And Josh put the link in the chat as well. Gag Grouper opens September 1st. What trip do you recommend? If you're going to try to go out and catch a Gag Grouper, I would do a 12-hour extreme trip or a 39-hour trip. The next part of the question is, how many can I bring home? A limit? ? So you're allowed 2 Gag Grouper per day per angler. So on a 39-hour, you could keep up to 4. On a 12-hour extreme, you could keep up to 2. For me to say you're going to go out there and catch a limit of Gag Grouper in September would be hard. It would be tough. A really good angler on a good fishing day would have no problem with it, but it is very difficult to catch Gag Grouper consistently and catch them often, even for the best of anglers. They're a super smart fish. They're super aggressive. They can rock you up. They can break you off. It's always comical to me come Gag Grouper season. People are like, I didn't get my Gag Grouper. Oh, you didn't catch a Gag Grouper? How many times did you get broke off? Well, I got broke off like 6 times. You hooked 6 gags. You got broke off by 6 Gag Grouper. So it's always funny and also kind of sad when we see Gag Grouper season open. People are fishing with 60-pound test or 80-pound test, and they're getting broke off left and right. If you're on a 12-hour extreme trip or on a 39-hour trip, you're using a big bait, you got to be using a 100-pound test, maybe even a 125-pound test, a big hook, and you got to have some big drag and some big power, and you got to have your hand on the reel, and you got to be able to reel fast. So if you want to ask me how many Gag Grouper are you going to catch, I'm going to ask you, how long have you been fishing? What tackle do you have? To give you any kind of answer. But it is definitely tricky to catch and to hook, to catch, and to land a Gag Grouper, let alone catch a limit of Gag Grouper. You have to have a good fishing day, you have to have good tackle, and you have to have a lot of luck. Some big Gag Grouper get caught sometimes. Like recently we've seen 40, 50-pound gags in like the recent history, and they're always in situations where like the boat is swung really far, or a situation where we're drifted off a spot, or a situation where you're not going to catch a 40, 45, 50-pound Gag Grouper unless you're just lucky, really, even with the best tackle. If they're super aggressive and they come away from the rock and they bite out away from the rock, then it's really hard for them to get back to their rock, because they're territorial fish. They want to go back to their rock. So sometimes they'll get hooked and they'll run down into a rock, but it won't be their rock. So if you wait a minute and you get lucky, he'll swim out of that rock to try to go back to his rock. And if you catch it at the right time, you can get him up. So sometimes you can get rocked up, and our crew and captains can help you actually get that fish out of the rock. And that's not any skill. That's just dumb luck of waiting for that fish to swim out of the hole it got into, out of the hole it got you into, and try to get back to a different hole. And if you get lucky, you can catch them in between holes. Or if the boat swings off the spot because the current's bad or the wind blew, or we're about to leave and we are purposely letting the boat drift off the spot or something, that's when you get those big Gag Grouper. And someone's like, well, I caught this 50-pound black on 40-pound test. Oh, did you now? Were you drift fishing? Did the boat swing off the spot? And most of the time, that's what happened. All the biggest gag grouper caught recently have stories like that where, oh, I was rocked up and we had to leave and we were going to pull anchor. And as we pulled anchor, he came out of the rock. And that's because the boat started pulling forward and the boat helped you float that fish up, you know? So it's a little bit of dumb luck and it's a little bit of skill and a lot of just fishing hard. Consistency is king. So, like my dad loves catching gag grouper. He'll go out there and fish next to me with a big bait and a big leader and a big reel, and I'll catch 10 mangrove snapper, and he'll catch a 25-pound, 30-pound gag. And I would rather catch 10 mangrove snapper because I like catching fish fast, and I have a short attention span, so I'm going to use a little lighter tackle, a little piece of dead bait, and catch mangroves. But if you're willing to soak a dead bait for 5, 10, 15 minutes and have the patience, big tackle, big power, and a little bit of big luck equals a keeper gag grouper. So to go out there and catch a bunch of keeper gags is tough, but it can happen. As far as what trip, 12-hour extreme or 39-hour is going to be your best bet, or a 44-hour. You might catch a keeper gag on a 10-hour, but you're not going to catch a bunch of them, and you're definitely not going to limit out, and they're not going to be 20-pounders. You might catch a 25, 26, maybe 30-inch gag on a 10-hour trip, but we're only going to catch a handful of gags on those 10-hour trips, not a ton of them. But you do have a chance. I think we covered just about everything that we wanted to cover tonight. We ran out of questions, or we ran out of time to get into a lot of questions, but hopefully you guys got some value out of the show. Hopefully we'll see you this Friday for our final Friday event. Hopefully we'll see you a week from today, August 27th at Bass Pro Shops at 2 p.m. for our Bass Pro Shops event. Hopefully we'll see you every Sunday night. We had over 320 viewers at one point between Facebook and Instagram. We probably have a bunch more on TikTok, Trovo, and Twitch. So really, really good show tonight with lots of you guys watching. I appreciate it. Hopefully you guys will tell a friend this week and we can double the numbers next week. Remember to tell your friends. Remember as well to help us by tagging folks. Remember to tell people about the show. Remember to watch our Hubbard's Marina social media, our TikTok, our Instagram. Stay tuned for updates. Anything we post, make sure you like and comment, help us share. And hopefully we'll see you out there on the water. We still have our 39-hour trip to give away. And then after that, we're going to pop over to our supporters group and do our supporters after show. That will start at 8:50. So if you want to become a supporter tonight, you can join our after show. You'll have about 10 minutes or so to pop over there and join us on the supporters group. So again, that is 8:50. Our supporters after show will start live in our supporters group. Hopefully you guys had a good time tonight. Hopefully we'll see you again next week, every Sunday night for our live stream show. Remember, if you want a chance to win trips, you have to watch the whole show live. If you just pop into the end, you've got no shot to win. You got to watch the whole show live. There's actually a way to track it, and that's what we do. So if you don't watch the whole show live, you have no chance of winning free trips. So make sure next week you watch the whole show live. Make sure you comment, let everybody know where you're watching from, and make sure you tell a friend about the show. So let's find out who won our 39-hour trip for one lucky winner. 39-hour for one goes to... You got 5 minutes to claim it, too. Aiden Sky from Parrish, Florida. Congratulations, Aiden. You got 5 minutes or less to claim that free trip. Text us your home address at the phone number on the screen. And don't forget, if you're too busy to go fishing, you're just too darn busy, come find out why Hubbard's Marina was voted the #1 fishing charter by USA Today in the nation. Come find out why and come see us out here on the water. Hopefully we'll see you this weekend at Bass Pro, and hopefully we'll see you every Sunday night right here for another episode of Off the Hook with Captain Hubbard. Y'all have a great night. Tight lines, we're out. We'll see you for the after show at 8:50.